So I want to welcome each one of you here today. And we're going to talk about one of the most important subjects, and that is the topic of car accidents. And one of the things that you will notice in our practice is that is often one of the first times people come to our office is they've been in a car accident. How many of you have been in a car accident? I mean, yeah. And if we started then asking how many more than one, more than two, you understand we could go, and what we would find, do you know what the average number of car accident people are in their lifetime? It's actually closer to 4, but in that region, yeah. So now some people have had a lot more than that, right? So they're running the excuse. There are times I will sit down with somebody, and they might be in their 50s and they have never been in a car accident. Now it's unusual because the statistics are you're going to get in your first car accident. 75% of kids within the first year of getting their license, they get in their first wreck. You haven't yet. See, that's and just
I've
be.
never been in a car. I've been
Well,
in one, but I've never impossible.
Thank you. Good. How old are you?
18.
18. Perfect. Good job. All right. So this is but this is something that's quite prevalent. Now, one of the reasons I want to teach this class is I want you to understand the consequence of car accidents. And one of the things I've become convinced of is people, if they get in a wreck and they say, well, I'm okay, a lot of times they never go have anything checked. They just assume if they're feeling pretty decent or that they dodged a bullet, so to speak. They never have anything checked. And I think one of the things that I end up taking care of later in life are things that happen that stem from a car accident that occurred long before that. So that is something that I want to talk about today. How does that happen? So I would say the first thing, let's take the case of someone who gets in a car accident and they know they've been hurt. All right? What typically unfolds for that person? They will, well, I mean, you're a good example, right? People will call me typically within the first day or 2 or 3, something of that nature. And what has happened in that stage? There's a lot of inflammation. The pain nerves have been irritated. There may be some ligament damage, all sorts of things. And if that happens, I think it makes sense for people that then they call up and they come in. Because what are the things that chiropractors do to help people who've been in car accidents?
Hurt.
Yeah, we do hurt. Yes, that is true. Although it's interesting that you bring that up. There is an aspect of the treatment that we do that may cause some discomfort. But it's discomfort with a purpose, right? And that purpose is to bring about a healing, and healing that will be transformational. So, but what I do is we call you because we've got to get the inflammation down and we've got to get the body functioning again. Now sometimes, have you heard of the soft tissue injury? One of the things I'm hearing a lot of right now is it's almost said, like a lot of times the insurance company will say that almost as if it's not a big deal. Well, from my perspective, that's almost backwards, because if it is a soft tissue injury, the soft tissues that we're talking about are the discs, our intervertebral disc injuries. Are they significant? Absolutely. Is nerve damage a problem? Absolutely, and that's a soft tissue, right? What's that?
Smooth muscles.
Muscle, yes.
Smooth muscles.
Smooth muscle, that's right. So your smooth muscle, and that's your blood pressure. There's lots of things. The smooth muscles control your gut function, all these things. And striated muscles, the muscles of the, so there's lots of damage to the soft tissues that need to be dealt with. And what chiropractic does is we reduce swelling by restoring function, helping people ice it down, we get the function, we get the vertebra to move more properly, we take some of the muscle spasm out of there and things of that nature. So the first several days are really crucial. We've got to make sure we get the inflammation controlled. Ideally, we don't want someone to be, in fact, what often happens if you call your medical doctor, you will be given things like pain medicine or muscle relaxants, anti-inflammatories, told to go lay on your bed and that sort of thing. And often people will put heat on the injury because when you heat it, does it feel better or worse? It usually feels better for the moment. That's right. But I'm convinced what happens if we follow that protocol, it ends up perpetuating things, because if you truly do have an inflammatory process happening and you put heat on it, it will actually make the inflammation worse. It feels better for you, so you think it was the right thing, and you do that. If you continue doing that, you won't do anything that will take the inflammation down. You'll instead keep the problem circulated and having a problem. All right. So once we get through the first several days, then there's a period of time, usually 6 to 8 weeks. And this is a period of time of healing that the body has to reestablish and lay down new tissues, right? So if you look at a muscle, when it gets injured, and there's a disruption of that muscle, let's say that there's some sort of a rip, something like that. What does the body do? Does it lay down brand new muscle cells?
Doesn't it try to heal the ones that are there?
It would try, but the problem, what we find is it tends not to lay down new muscle cells. It tends to lay down a low grade, almost like a scar tissue, if we want to think more of a collagen fiber. It's like a low grade scab almost. If you want to think about it more like that. So it will infiltrate and it will start building, and it starts from the very depths of the rip or the tear or something like that, and it will kind of build in here. And the problems that we run into, if we think about the muscle itself, muscles, you talk about smooth muscles, well, these ones that are not smooth muscles but are what we call striated muscles, this is like your biceps, these muscles and the muscles around the back and those sorts of things, they have fibers that are oriented in this direction. Now, do you see a problem with the orientation of this collagen that I drew in here? What did I draw it nice with nice lines here? No. Do you realize it doesn't grow in lines? One of the things that I try to teach people, the advantages for chiropractic, is we actually take, because so much of what I do restores the function of the muscle, so it takes these things and gets these collagen fibers to line up more and more like this. So the things like the adjustments to actually open it up like that, to do things like tractioning, what they do, and it's really, I would say, in the 2 months or so, because if you come right in the first several days, we have to get the inflammation going down. But then as the healing happens, we want to make sure it becomes more and more functional. Because if these don't assume this stretching and this configuration like this by being stretched and moved, it will form a gnarly kind of a mass there, and it will not be as functional. If we can get your body to form this repair and have those fibers orient along the same direction as the muscle fibers, this will be a much more functional repair. It will never probably be as strong and as good as it was before the tear, but it will at least function for all intents and purposes. This will be a good healing.